Good morning, Martin.
How are you?
I am good. It is dark outside, but I am happy to be here.
Oh, good. I appreciate it so much. I know that when
Yeah.
we were organising this, I probably wasn't thinking about the time zone for you. It must be 6 a.m. 5.
It is 6 a.m. It is 5:58 a.m. I
Oh
have a
wow.
large cup of coffee. It's going to be great. My day job is I work as a fitness instructor, and I'm often up very early.
Okay,
Not too crazy, don't worry.
you're hardcore. Well done, Katie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gotta
Well, I
wake up at 4
appreciate.
a.m., do my ice bath.
Oh, I just got out of my ice bath. I love an ice bath.
Oh,
Well,
love
I
that
say I
for
love it.
us.
Yeah, I say I love an ice bath, but the thing is, I, I felt the benefit of it. I was doing it for a long time, and then I stopped, and now I'm trying to get back
Um,
into it.
I actually have tea about ice baths. This isn't related to anything, but it's something I learned recently is that a
Okay.
lot of the research on the benefits of ice baths was only done on male bodies. And it has been found that it is not as potentially beneficial for female bodies, and they have to do more research. This is
Mhm.
a classic thing that my show has nothing to do with this, but one of
No,
my,
no, of course.
medical research is often not done on female bodies. And then it's like, what do you mean that doesn't work on a female body? And it's like, oh, it wasn't researched. But ice baths, it's good for learning how to regulate your cortisol levels, I guess.
Yeah,
If you like doing them.
yeah, no, I hate it. I hate it. But at the same time, when I was doing it regularly, I came to the conclusion that it was the hardest thing I was doing every day. And so that the rest of my day was set up to be easier.
There you
That,
go.
that I could go back to the rest of the day and go, I did an ice bath this morning. I can do anything now.
Yeah, absolutely. It increases your range of what's possible. You've already experienced the negative. It can only go up from there.
Exactly, yeah. So, Katie, let's get into your show then. Enough about ice
Yeah.
baths. So, thank you so much for joining me on the Martin Talk Show. Like I say, I truly appreciate you getting up this early to share
Of
this
course.
morning. So, where are you based? You're in New York,
I am in New York City, yes.
and you're going to be bringing your show to the Edinburgh Fringe. No refunds.
That is correct.
So I understand. I've done a little bit of looking into your show, and I understand it's got kind of a game show feel to it. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So, No Refunds is an interactive game show play. Every show, there is one audience member who pays a premium ticket price for the chance to win back a refund live on stage. Their only objective, can they keep the general admissions audience entertained? So, it is a show about star quality, if you will. We call that audience member the star player. They play a series of games, all sort of designed around what you need in order to make it as an entertainer. And ultimately, it's their choice if they want to take that refund or not at the end of the night when they consider the consequences.
And is that refund real? Is this a
Yes. Oh, yes. We will cut them a check if they win it all back and they choose to take it. I have the checkbook right here on my desk.
so that sounds like that's quite a challenge for yourself. So you never really know how the night's going to go, do you?
I do not. And not only in terms of that final choice, but we also are planning a 9 game version of the show for Fringe this year. We've previously done a 6 game version, but we're adding 3 more games. Each round will have 3 potential options. And depending on how it sort of turns out each night, you'll only ever see 3 games in one show. So that also is completely up to chance each evening.
Wow. Tell me a little bit. I'm really interested to know how you prepare for something like this. How you prepare for something that you don't that is so on the, it is something that's going to be happening on the night, a different audience, different people, but you've got to go in with some kind of form of control over all of this.
Yes and no. I mean, it's funny. There's obviously a level of control, and that is the scripted elements, what I can prepare. It's actually very similar, I would say, probably to planning for a podcast. You don't know what I'm going to say here. You have a general sense of who I am, what my show is. You can do that research beforehand. You have an objective as a podcast host about what the Martin talk show is generally about. And so you can get that objective in there through your character, which is you here. In No Refunds, I play a character named Tiffany Gold, who perhaps has more over the top objectives, if you will. But a lot of the preparation for it, well, there is a scripted element, of course, and the show is ultimately about the responsibility of audiences and patrons to compensate artists, and how art cannot exist under capitalism unless people are willing to support it. Unfortunately, we are long past the days of just like being able to put handprints in caves and call ourselves artists. We live in a world now where that validation often comes from people's willingness to pay for your work. So that's certainly something that we want audience members to see each night. And then on the same, like on a completely other side of things, actually, it's the star player. We want them to look like a star every night. So we go into it wanting to make them look good. The literal preparation is a lot like how you would prepare for an improv show. A lot of our rehearsal practice was, okay, what if somebody says this? What if somebody says this? You know, bribing my friends to come in and just give us all sorts of options. What happens if we have a person who doesn't answer any of the questions, who doesn't really want to participate? How can we make sure that the script can bend without breaking? And really play testing the script in that way, kind of like you would a new product or something. So that is how, on a logistical level, we've prepared. On a more metaphysical level, I put on a lot of shapewear and a very sparkly dress and a wig, and somehow that alchemizes into being prepared.
Yeah, no, bringing it, you brought in the podcast and the similarities to what I'm doing here, and on my podcast, I always wear the same shirt. Okay, I have more than one. I have a few now, but that is a level of preparedness that when I put on the clothes,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Can I ask you a question about the shirt? What made you choose a red flannel?
A couple of things. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, an ex-girlfriend once told me it was the best look I had. The red shirt.
Shout out that ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, and that's like, and I'm talking like 20 plus years ago, and that kind
It's
of
funny how that stuff sticks with you.
and that one little compliment was like, that was enough to be like, oh, I look good in a red shirt.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's something that I feel comfortable in. It suits me. Also, it's not to, because when I considered this, I considered that I should have a look on this podcast. I should have something that's recognizable, that's consistent. And I considered things like wearing a suit, and being formal. It just didn't feel right. And
It's not your brand.
It's not my brand. And my brand is to, this podcast, I like to consider this a relaxed space. That we have a conversation. These aren't interviews that I'm doing here. We're discovering things together, and it's very much what I would just be wearing in this space and time, and it fits for me.
Sure. I love it.
And so when you did yourself, then when you decided on your costume for your character, was there a conscious decision on the clothes that you would be wearing to become that person?
Definitely. And this is actually very interesting because she's recently had a bit of a new era as well. So I can talk a little bit about the first look that we did for Tiffany Gold and what I have been performing as for the last year as her was a 16-inch platinum blonde wig, red sparkly dress. I wanted a ton of shapewear. She has chicken cutlets. Everything is pressed up. It's the whole Hourglass Jessica Rabbit, Dolly Parton sort of vibe. And a lot of that came out of the reality that, I think there's something to the drag queen effect of when you perform hyper femininity in like this over the top way, it gives you a license to say things and do things that disarms people's usual like reflexive protective measures. People are more willing to be vulnerable with you because they're so sort of taken aback by this creature that you've become. I think the stage direction that I originally wrote before we had any costume pieces was everything about her is artifice. There's something about like American culture and what she looks like too, for sure, where it's like her skin is unnaturally tan, her teeth are unnaturally white, her hair is unnaturally blonde, she's got blue eyeshadow and a red dress. And there's something a little frightening about that as well. With our recent announcement that we're going up at Gilded Balloon this summer, we decided to give her a little bit of a makeover, mainly in that the show is dynamic every night. It's something new. And we always knew that as we started to level up in terms of as we had longer runs, as we were able to get more funding, just like a real talk show host or game show host would start to level up their look as well. That is something that we wanted reflected with Tiffany. And so for Gilded Balloon, keeping in mind their branding of all of the like pink with the wing colors of lime green and light blue, we wanted to give her a little bit of a makeover. She now has a bob and a bang. She's back with a bang and a bob. We have a little bit. And a pink sparkly dress as opposed to a red sparkly dress, sort of leaning into their aesthetic so that she fits that space. And that's something I'm excited to continue to see as the show grows, how she can continue to evolve. But the thing I love about the drag queen effect is that it's the twofold of people immediately feel like they can go up and talk to her because they're not intimidated. You know, Katy, have sometimes been told in spaces that I can come across as intimidating because I definitely can have a bit of a resting bitch face if I'm not actively checking it, which is a survival mechanism. You know, I walk around the streets in New York City. I don't want to look like you can fuck with me. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on this?
We just did, didn't we?
Okay, stunning. Yeah, I don't want to look like somebody that's like, you know, easy to fuck with. And so, but as Tiffany, there's this whole having the dress, having the shapewear, having the whole thing. It's like, oh, that's a character that you're supposed to go talk to. And we found this last year at the Fringe too. We'd be flyering as her, and people of all walks of life would just come up and talk to her. And the things that they'd reveal to her are so exciting just because it doesn't seem like a real person. It seems like this thing that is literally there for you to speak to. And so it gives you a bit of a license as a performer, which is really fun.
Wow, this is a lot for me to consider. I'm taking a lot of notes myself. You know, as I'm.
Have you tried a wig?
I haven't tried a wig. You know, I'm thinning, so it might be. It might not be long. It might not be long before the toupee comes on.
I can't recommend a wig highly enough.
But you're right. There is a reason why these presenters, these hosts, these game show presenters look the way that they do. It's for that interaction, isn't it? It's for that ease in the guest, for them to be open. And I guess a lot of that comes from the visuals and maybe something that's, you know, out there and that isn't quite real, that isn't how you would find every other person, gives a sense of that ease, and you're able to relax within that you know that's what that person does.
Totally.
So now I'm reconsidering my check shirt now.
Well, and I think there's actually a bit of a performance of gender in it as well. That is a kind of interesting thing. I think of, you know, I always mention like Dolly Parton as one of the images, or like Vanna White. And there's also this level of, I mean, Vanna White's a more realistic version. She's one of the hosts of Wheel of Fortune. And then Dolly Parton always says the thing of like, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap, but it also allows her to, you see Dolly and you know, oh, that's the performer. That's a person we should look at on stage. But it's also so herself. Like, it's like this distilled thing that it's like, oh, that's not what everybody's wearing, but that's her. And something about her being so herself makes other people want to be themselves too, for better or for worse, you know? And, you know, I want to look cheap. It takes a lot of money to look this cheap. That quote I love, because it's like, yeah, she's not dressing that way just because it delights her. It's because it's something she feels like is spectacular. And I think that's also why a sparkly dress and a big blonde wig as well.
So yeah, the clothes help us identify, but it also helps us be authentic to ourselves. So we
Definitely.
have to when we're going out into the public arena, I guess we have to consider those two things: the authenticity and that being recognizable at the same time. This is who you are. This is what you
Hmm.
do.
And the performance of authenticity. I mean,
Mm,
it's an interesting. It seems almost like they shouldn't be able, like oxymoronic. It shouldn't exist at the same time. But
mhm,
a lot of what we do as entertainers is perform authenticity to a certain extent. Like, you don't wear that shirt every single day, but it is an authentic thing for you to wear that you've
mm.
now cultivated a little bit, which I mean, that's also part of what we try to do in No Refunds is make people who aren't in this industry think about the things that they do every day that are performing authenticity in their day-to-day lives. It's not just something that artists do. It's something that everybody does a little bit.
Yeah, and it's so hard to get there as well. I'd say, you know, I've just just got to 40, and when I used to be an actor, I used to do
Mm,
acting myself, and I couldn't find it within that space at all. In fact, I
mm,
used to like to do that thing of hiding behind a mask, and I like to be
mm.
someone else. And as I look back, I go, that's why acting didn't work for me. That's why it never connected with audiences, why it never connected in the audition room, because I wasn't being true to myself, because I was trying to always hide.
Yeah.
Whereas now I've managed to find this space where I can be authentic, that I can be true to myself, that I often wonder if that would help me now if I went back to acting.
Why don't you?
Mm. Yeah, we're having a moment. Why don't we? Why don't
Why
I?
don't you? I
Yeah.
mean,
No, because
genuinely, that's
genuinely, because I'm having too much fun here. Because
fair.
because this is my space now. This is my space, and I enjoy engaging with actors still. I enjoy be. I'm still in that creative industry, but just
Yeah.
in a slightly. I've just shifted, and it feels better for me here. But this what you're doing with your show resonates really deeply with me. This understanding of value on the arts, this understanding of what it means to be an artist and survive and pay the bills and yeah, simply be valued by the people who consume it.
Yeah. I mean, as artists, our value is not really, people always say, well, you're an artist if you say you're an artist, but do you put artist on your tax documents at the end of the year? And I have two feelings about this because obviously I wouldn't have made this show if I didn't believe that all human beings are creatives and artists. And I think as humans, we need to compulsively create the same way that birds need to sing. And unfortunately, we live in capitalism where we've all commodified those skills. And so that's where our value is suddenly coming from. And at the same time, there is a reality of like this show exists because during the pandemic, I lost not only acting gigs, but also my survival jobs. I became dependent on my friends and family, and it was a really, really hard time. And part of the show exists because I was writing out of a lot of anger at the time of like, oh my God, there is no safety net to this job. And if people don't value what you're doing, and especially, and of course, people don't value it during a global pandemic. Of course, it was not the priority. I think that makes a lot of sense that it wasn't the priority, but
Hold on
yeah.
a second. Like, was it not the priority? What did we all do at home? We watched TV. We read books. We listened to music. We did, you know,
We
how,
manically recorded audiobooks.
yeah,
It's
what
just
would
me.
have, yeah, how would we have
Yeah.
got through it without the arts? Hey, do you know, what was we supposed to do? Just sit at home and do nothing?
No, I mean, totally. I also think there's a certain degree of like how do we even end up with vaccines and the ability to reopen? There's a lot of art and science as well. One of
Mm.
my best friends from college is I'm going to brag about her. She's a biologist at Harvard. She's very fancy. She's doing unspeakable things to mice on a daily basis, but she's a brilliant person. And it is also fascinating to me how science at that level and the arts are both sort of like, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? I think this might work. Does it work? And has that, there's an art to science, there's a science to art. And that is interesting as well.
You have to have an imagination within science. You have to
You have
think
to
through
believe.
yeah, it's the same kind of processes that we have to go through, whether we're creating art or we're trying to find a solution to something. But that touching on COVID as well, there was a moment for me that happened here in the UK. The government put out a poster of a ballerina that said, "Now is the time to retrain. Maybe you should get a job in cyber." And that to me said the people in charge, they're the ones that don't understand the value. They're the ones that don't understand the importance of what's happening here.
Well, it's so interesting you bring that up. I think something in the US that we've become painfully aware of since Donald Trump has re-entered office is I think he is well aware of how powerful the arts are. I think that is why we're seeing arts funding scaled back on a large scale. I think it's why we're seeing his name put atop the Kennedy Center, and that what had used to be sort of this like American bastion of new theater works being shut down. The arts have the power to make people consider different routes, make people question the status quo. And that is something that a fascist government is not interested in.
Mm. That's what the powers seem to want to be shutting down.
Definitely.
The arts are our voice, are our route
Absolutely.
to freedom, to our
Yeah.
route to reconsidering that. Hold on a second, maybe we was wrong about that idea that we once had,
Yeah.
because that's completely okay to do that. To
Yeah.
reconsider an idea, to
Absolutely.
reconsider that maybe you voted for the wrong person. That's like, but we're being moved into this world where no, you had that thought once, therefore that must be it. And yeah, if we take away theatre, if we take away the stories, the museums, even to the point of like kind of recreating history in some senses,
Yeah.
it reshapes the narrative of the now.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's a problem. It's a
Mm.
problem.
And how do we deal with that then, Katie?
I mean, this is more macro scale. I think education is so important. Um, this happened. I think it's no surprise that this also happened actually coming off of the pandemic, his reelection. I have a brother who's 7 years younger than me, and he was in high school during the pandemic. And there, there was a huge loss of learning that occurred because people were no longer in person. And there's so much that, we can do a lot in a remote sphere now, which is amazing. But in terms of the energy of a room, your ability to, participate, get a hand up, the normalization of that sort of class participation, and also the socialization that's happening in between classes, right? Like I remember when I was in high school, it was not only, oh, you had class, you also have 10 minutes to get between classes that you're catching up with a friend or talking to a person that you might not usually, or you bump into somebody in the hallway and you have to either choose to ignore that you just bumped into them or apologize for bumping into them. Things as small as that disappeared.
The fundamental things that we need in society are the foundations are created at that high school point, aren't they? And
Totally.
and so both of my children were in secondary school at that point as well, and I saw how they
Yeah.
missed out on so much. My daughter's first years of secondary school were taken away, and so that moment that we learn to interact with new people on a mass
Yeah.
scale is just disappeared. So that's going to now
Totally.
inform them as young adults. I think now we're starting to see the true effects of COVID.
Yeah. And to that point, a lot of what you learn in high school is also the ability to think with nuance and hold conflicting ideas in your head. And we absolutely saw this polarization. I saw it with myself. I mean, there were times that I remember I was running social media for a fitness studio that I was working for just as a day job that I could do remotely. And I shared an infographic without actually fact checking stuff on the infographic because I was just enraged. And I shared it, and I had a client very kindly call me in about it and say, hey, I know that you're sharing this with good intention, but this actually, and it's funny because now I can't even remember what exactly it was or what the thing was. But I do remember that client reaching out to me to be like, hey, I don't know if you fact checked this. It seems like it's intended to enrage you. And like, yes, this is a problem, but do be mindful of what you're sharing on this account. And it's so, I mean, there's also then a level of like, I think we generally don't want to feel uncomfortable or bad as humans. I mean, back to the science analogy, like a rat will avoid any sort of negative stimulus if they can. And oftentimes, in order to actually connect with other people or feel empathy towards others, you have to sit in the feelings that are uncomfortable for yourself, whether that's guilt or grief or fear. Because if you don't sit with the guilt, grief, fear, it often will turn into anger or jealousy or, those feelings that then become,
Well, they then
can be
become
used to like assail someone.
it becomes their personality traits as we sit in those spaces, doesn't it? It sure became mine I've had those feelings, and the longer that I sat with them, they became part of me. They became part of who I was, and so I guess we need to find a way to work those feelings out of ourselves, and that comes back to that thing of why the arts are so important, theatre, and that that can help us reevaluate who we are.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say work though. Something I've been thinking about a lot. I'm currently developing a new show called Feel Bad, and it's intended to make you feel bad. And it's also a workout class. It's a show, it's a workout class, it's very interactive. But I've been reading a lot of Carl Jung in preparation for it, who talks about like the philosophy of our shadow. And, if we're a kind person, then the part of us that is mean enters our shadow. And what's hard is when you tell yourself again and again and again, I'm a kind person, I'm a kind person, you are ignoring the part of you that's mean, which you then might project onto others unfairly because that part feels somewhat unexpressed. And it's interesting. It's been changing my philosophy a little bit in terms of, is that something we should just destroy? Like the part of me that's mean. The part of me that's mean, though, can be kind of helpful in terms of an interactive performer bit, my ability to maybe read somebody, dress them down in a fun way, that expresses that part of myself, but in a way that is not intended to harm, right? It's finding ways to express. If you're jealous, instead of being like, I hope they don't get that thing, being jealous and instead using that as, okay, I'm jealous. How do I get there? What do I need to do? So it's interesting. I'm now wondering if it's a matter of integrating ourselves, and because I think too, when I look at people in office and the hypocrisies and that often exists, it's like, well, of course they're hypocritical. They're just, they have these unexpressed things that they then can't, they have no way to express adequately.
And I said work these things out of yourself, but actually I think it's more important to find balance, because we have things like, anger and hate and jealousy. They're all important emotions, but I guess it's recognizing them and trying to find a way to use them at the right moment. Like you said, it can be, at the beginning of this conversation, you said you're in New York. You have to have that resting bitch face to survive, to say to people, don't fuck with me. It's a protection thing. And so we do need all these different emotions and these different personality traits, but it's like, which ones are going to shine through more? which ones are we going to use at the right time, which ones are for protection, and which ones are for helping maybe benefit others as well.
No, yeah, I think it's sort of inviting them all in and seeing what comes out of that.
Yeah, we're discovering wonderful things within these conversations, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's amazing where we can go to with this. But I want to go back to your show,
Mhm.
and I want to know a bit about, you know, we've touched on a lot here about trying to engage with the audience and trying to get them to think about things. I want to know a little bit more about your hopes and dreams for this show.
My hopes and dreams for this show. Something, well, part of the impact I've seen come out of the show already in runs we've had in New York City and then our partial run last year at Fringe is people who have put away the part of themselves that is an artist, often that inner child kind of thing. People who have said, "Oh, I don't do that anymore." You know, I work in security. I'm a caretaker. These are the like they've put themselves in this box that no longer allows them to be an artist, and they go through the games of the show as our star player, and by the end, they are valuing their art to the point that they're like, give me the money. I deserve to be paid for what I've done. That I think is so beautiful watching that happen. We had a star player in New York City that literally there's a little bit of a twist in the end, and you have to come see it to see it. But I approached it in such a different way because he was trying to give us the money immediately. He was like, I don't deserve this. This is, you guys have made this experience. You deserve this money. Like, before I could even ask him if he wanted to take a refund or not, he was already like, I deserve none of this. You deserve all of it. And it was really exciting to actually call on the general admissions audience. And, you know, he kept saying that. And I like looked out at the general admissions audience, which, you know, that what I like about the show too is if you love being in interactive theater, there's a role for you. And if you are like, please God, do not call on me. Please do not call on me. You can just be in the general admissions audience and you can see that experience without having to participate yourself. But I looked out to the general admissions audience and I was like, do you agree with him right now? Like, do you think he's not an artist? Do you think he hasn't done work up here? And like the audience immediately was like, absolutely not. Like, what do you mean? This one woman was crying because of a piece of writing that he'd shared. She literally was like, I'm crying. Like, you're saying you're not an artist? You look at what you've made me feel. And I think that is the thing I want our star players to walk away from is this feeling of like, oh, I am an artist. And actually that is something innately human. And I love for our general admissions audience to walk away and go, huh, what would I do if I was up there? And, you know, maybe they decide to come back. We had one person who came in the GA like 7 times before finally coming on as a star player. And it's cool to see how people slowly warm up to that hyper participation.
I wonder, as I'm listening to this story, Katie, I wonder with you if at any point that you've, because I know that I haven't always done this. We put a lot of value on what we're doing based upon a monetary reward, but it sounds to me like you're getting an amazing human experience where you're watching other humans grow and the
Yeah.
value of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd also love to sell out all the shows and make a ton of money and not have to worry about rent for a couple
Of
months.
course, of course.
Um, gotta stick to my
Yeah.
roots. I'm an American. We need to make money. Um, but no, I mean, if that wasn't how I felt about theater, I wouldn't still be doing it. You know, if
Mm.
money was truly the only thing motivating me, I would have quit this during the pandemic and I would have taken the LSAT and I would have gone to law school or done something else. But yeah, I am addicted to whatever this human thing is, and I can't stop doing it.
Mm. It's connection, isn't it?
Hmm.
Connection at its core.
Yeah. I mean, we're naturally really social creatures. I think that's why I even got into playwriting in the first place is there was a play I wrote in high school about two women who were trying to navigate a relationship with each other that was a secret. I presented it at this playwriting festival that happened in the town that I grew up in. And I remember this older man approaching me afterwards. And I got a little bit nervous because I was like, oh, I've written this like queer show. And I don't know, he's like an older guy. Like, I don't know what he's going to say to me. And he literally was like, that reminded me of being young and being in love. And thank you so much for that. And I was like, oh, I'd put all these things on him just based off of his age, his gender, what he, and actually he and I have had the same experience. And I think that's the feeling that I often chase in the work I do, whether I'm an actor, whether I'm a playwright, whether I'm a these days I'm calling myself a performance artist, where it's a constantly evolving thing. Is that thing of like, oh, we're we're all experiencing this thing, and it's painful, and it's beautiful, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's really cool that you've found a reminder of that, that you've discovered that. Yeah, then that's always wonderful, those moments after a show where you get to connect with those people that you
Yeah.
don't necessarily expect, that you don't necessarily think that this is gonna work for them, but you find out a secret,
Yeah.
and it's similar to your secret.
Couldn't agree more. Really, we just love secrets. That's why we're in
We
the
do,
arts.
don't
I'm
we?
like, give
Yeah.
me your little stories, your little
But and I wonder if that comes a little bit from what you said earlier about that thing about like shame, that maybe within our secrets we feel this shame that we're trying to shift, and when we find out someone else has a secret, then we're like, oh, our shame can go away a little bit now. It can be a little bit, it can be a little bit lighter.
crazy. As you said that, I also had this moment of just realizing I think a lot of why I created this show is I didn't believe I was like, can I really call myself an artist? Should I
Mm,
really be saying I'm an artist? Like, is that is there's a level of delusion there. Like,
yeah.
why am I? Why should I use this label? And maybe I'm like, well, if I can prove everyone else is an artist, then I must be an artist too, right?
Yeah. Why are you doing that? Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea where that comes from?
It's funny because I'm very lucky in that I have a family that is so supportive of this, which is not the norm at all. My partner and I met at theater school, and he was a theater and econ double major because he had to have a backup plan. And my family has always been like, yeah, you want to go write weird performance art stuff? That's what you're meant to do. Um, I do think I hold myself to a really high standard, though, in terms of, I have this expectation of quality that I want from the work that I do. And it's a standard that, I mean, God, and it bleeds into all sorts of other things, not just art. And I think well, it's funny. I was talking about the show Feel Bad that I'm currently developing right now. It's all going to come back. But a year and a half ago, I had this crazy medical experience where my appendix exploded. I kept saying I was fine. I went to a doctor. They diagnosed me with constipation. I was in Greece at the time with my partner's family. It was a whole crazy thing. They gave me a constipation diagnosis. I had appendicitis. My appendix actually ruptured. I thought when your appendix ruptured, you died. Turns out not everybody does. Um, Not everybody does. And I was put on disability. I literally couldn't do any of my jobs. The first workshop of No Refunds that was supposed to originally go up in September of 2024 had to be pushed back to November of 2024 because of this experience. And we don't know what causes your appendix to burst. And I was doing all this research. And also during that time, my mom, because she was like, wow, you kept saying you were fine. You kept saying you were fine. You kept trying to like tell us you were good. And my mom went to go get her hip checked out, which had hurt. And turns out my mom had bone on bone arthritis that she hadn't even known, ends up getting a hip replacement. And it's interesting. I recently read The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. There's much higher rates of cancer, of autoimmune diseases, of early hip replacements. All of these medical things often have much higher rates around people that have experienced trauma and not necessarily processed it. And I was very lucky in some ways I had a really supportive family, but nobody gets out of this life unscathed. And it forced me to really reckon with this reality of like, oh, I've just been pretending I'm good and I'm fine when really I'm not. And I think there's a level of like imposter syndrome. The artists I've met that don't have some form of imposter syndrome, they have a level of ego that does make them very difficult to work with sometimes. And so it's challenging because on one hand, I'm like, I should believe in myself more. And then on the other hand, I am very lucky that I'm surrounded by people who believe in me, and I've continued to collaborate with those people. And my producer, Olivia Wynn, on No Refunds, her and I often will gut check each other. We'll send an email to each other before we send it out to the world. And we're like, that's beautifully written. You're amazing. You're perfect. And I think too, like, so all of which is to say, why do I do this thing? I think I do this thing because I don't have that level of ego. I have that question of like, am I crazy? Am I delusional? Do people really want to hear what I have to say? But that feeling, I think, also keeps me tethered to reality in many ways of like, I know, it's saving me from hubris or that ego, the Icarus problem of flying too close to the sun. No matter what I do, I'm always going to be holding myself still to a high standard. And I think I just need to be careful about not being too cruel to myself in the process. I think when I was younger, I really beat myself up for those things. And now I look at that and I go, oh, like, of course you feel that way, because a part of you is still 14 and feels like the weird theater kid that, talks at the wrong times, and a girl called obnoxious behind your back at the lunch table, not realizing you were in earshot, and that those things stick with you. And, everyone has that. So having that allows me to connect to other people, which I think is a beautiful thing too.
And did you find this resonates deeply with me, because in recent years I've discovered similar things. And I wonder for you, did you find that when you realized these things, did life get better? Did life get any easier when you when you started to realize that, I'm not the only one that has this imposter syndrome. I'm not the only one that can be delusional. That we are kind of all in this in some ways together.
Absolutely. And I think even more so, learning that part of that is age as well. Like my mom is
Takes
in her
time,
mid-50s.
doesn't it?
Takes time. And I remember my mom went to go see the movie 8th Grade with Bo Burnham the year she turned 50. And I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's Bo Burnham directed it. It's about an 8th grade girl. It's about her 13th birthday party. And my mom went to go see it the week she turned 50. And she called me. I was in college at the time. And she calls me and she goes, you know what? I was feeling some kind of way about turning 50, what that meant for me. And I watched 8th Grade and I realized you couldn't pay me to be 13 again. She was like, life is so much better now than when I was 13. And she was like, and I look at my mom, and also, I mean, I said I teach group fitness as a day job. I'm constantly being connected to these women who are in midlife or beyond. And the level of self-assuredness that they have, it's so exciting, and it makes me excited to age as opposed to scared of it. I think in this industry, especially as a woman, I'm sometimes like, oh God, like, do I need to be getting Botox? Do I need to be doing these things? Do I need to like get, and instead I look at these women and I'm like, oh God, I can't wait to be that. I can't wait to be grounded in that. And yeah, it's life seems to get, I don't know if it gets easier. I think it gets more fun. It's like a video game, right? Like you keep leveling up,
Yes.
but then you get better at it, right?
Yeah,
And that's
and
kind of,
you learn a few things, but then you have a few new trials.
Exactly.
And these trials that come along at every age aren't necessarily easier trials. In fact, in some ways they're harder. But
Yeah.
the enjoy, yeah, for me, through the realization, through the being, the analyzing of oneself and how we
Hmm.
navigate this, yeah, for me, it made things easier. There was a period of my life where everything was so difficult because
Hmm.
I wasn't taking a moment to go, who am I within all of this life, and what emotions am I using here, and all of these things that we've discussed. That, yeah, once I had, in some ways, maybe we can call this, what I've had and what you've expressed, as like an awakening.
Mm.
And once you've woken up to some of these things, who we are within life, yeah, it gets a little bit easier, and it also becomes a little bit more fun. And if this is all just a video game, which some people, which
I
the
don't believe that, but
no,
yeah,
yeah,
some people do.
but some
No,
people
but yeah.
do, and if there is maybe there is some element to life like that maybe there is some process that we're going through, then why not just, yeah, why not have fun as we're moving through it?
Totally. I mean, I love the egg. This is getting real philosophical, but do you know the egg theory of the universe? Yep, yep, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Okay. For listeners who aren't aware, the egg theory of the universe is this idea that we're all this
mhm.
like celestial being that has to experience every way of living. You know, you, me, we're all just different versions of that thing. And it's actually the whole universe is an egg. And once every kind of life has been experienced, that higher being can come into being because it has all of those experiences. I always say I want to come back as a tree next time, which I do stand by. I think it would be a beautiful life just to be like, I need to grow. Sunlight, water, I'll turn it into food.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a wonderful theory because it can help give a bit of purpose to us, and yeah, and move us towards these considerations
Yeah.
which we're making.
And what you said earlier about connection, I mean, that's if we're all the same higher being, like, how can you not connect and empathize with every person you come across?
Yeah, and that story, that theory helps with the empathy. If we consider that maybe how would I deal with what you're going through if I was literally you at some
Yeah.
other point in this timeline, I experienced your life. How would I deal with that? With all the
Yeah.
things that you've had before and where you are now, what would I be doing anything different? Perhaps not, if we're the same.
Totally.
Hmm. Deep for 6 a.m.
Whoa,
in New York. Wonderful.
the whole day after this.
Okay, so but before we do that, one important place that I want to take this podcast to, that I sometimes do on the podcast, is we actually can go time traveling on this podcast. And so you're in a space and time in your life that you are more awake and more aware. And I wonder if there was a point in your life that you would like to go back to and give any guidance to yourself, knowing what you know now.
See, that's like so hard because there's a part of me that's like, if I had the advice of a magic future version of myself, it would like,
How
then
would you
maybe
have
I
got
wouldn't
here?
become this. Exactly,
Mm,
exactly. And I mean, that's the thing. And it's hard because on one hand, I wish that I could go and comfort myself in times that I've felt really bleak. Especially like that thing I mentioned with my appendix, like that, I was like, oh my God, like this show is never happening. I was also like potentially gonna die. Like there was so much going on. And on one hand, it would be great to hear from me and go, actually, it is going to happen. And not only that, you're going to be on a talk show, and also you're going to go to Fringe for a full run, and that's all going to happen. Um, but also, like, I can't use the time machine, Martin.
well, maybe, yeah, no,
Maybe,
I
yeah.
don't think we don't necessarily have to give advice. Maybe it's a feeling. Maybe it's just comfort. Maybe it's a hug.
Can I go forward? I would love to go
It's
forward.
a time machine. There's no rules. There's no rules here.
Selfishly, I'd love to go talk to me at like 95.
Yeah,
I'd love to just
Let's
get,
dial it in.
yeah, I'm manifesting living until I'm 95 years old. I mean, I want to see what goes on. I hope the universe doesn't explode in a heat death. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I want to know how I continue to change, I guess. But then I also don't want to be spoiled. Ooh, I don't want spoilers.
Oh no.
I don't know, but maybe I'll go forward. Maybe I'll just have a cup of coffee and be like, I don't want you to tell me anything, but we're here, so that's good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing,
Thank
Katy.
you.
This has been a wonderful journey. We've dived into some really big questions today, haven't we?
Yeah.
And seek some really huge answers as well. But I got one last one for you that I ask all of my guests now, because it's a big human question, and you know, the world can feel a little bit upside down right now. So I want to know, Katy, from everything that we've discussed and everything that you've experienced so far, how would you make this a better world?
You see, I was prepared for this because
Okay.
I listened to some of
You've
your
checked
other.
in.
No, but the problem is that we've now had this whole conversation. I was like, I need to see if he has any questions that he asks everybody, and then I'll write out an answer. You know.
Oh
and
no,
it's
that's
funny
the
'cause
danger of
No,
this.
but
That's
it's
the danger of
good
this
though.
question.
Well,
Okay.
but no, I've changed my mind because originally I was going to say something about, I love immersive theater because it opens you up to just like talking to strangers. Like after a No Refund show, I'll go get a slice of pizza on the street and I'll chat with a random person in line that I wouldn't usually. And that's cool. But I think as we've been chatting about all this stuff today, I mean, if I'm literally looking at like me and us as individuals and our impact, not if we're like going out into the world, there's the thing of like hurt people. And I think that if we want to make the world a better place, we have to start with ourselves. We can't just go out and be like, this is how everybody should behave. We have to go, okay, am I healed? Am I integrated? Am I being kind to myself? And I think there's something to that of you just have to, you can't clean up the world until you clean up your own house. And I think that's, as we've been talking about all this today, that's more what I'm thinking about.
I love that we've found a discovery within this. I believe that we create ripples in life, but if we're creating the ripple, it's starting right here.
Yeah.
And so what energy do we want to move that ripple forward with? Is it a positive one or is it a negative one?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Katy. I really do appreciate it. So just let us know one last time before we sign off. Where do we find your show?
Yes, No Refunds is going up at Patter House at the Gilded Balloon this August 5th to the 20-something. Whenever Fringe ends, it's a full run.
Wonderful.
It'll be going up at 9:40 p.m. in the Penny, I believe. Oh, we'll fact check that. It's in Patter House. And also, there may be a New York preview beforehand. We're in some talks right now. Keep July 6th to the 12th kind of open if you're in New York City. You can sign up for my mailing list, katy-murphy.com/no-refunds, or you can follow us on Instagram at No Refunds Play to see all of those things. Later this month, we're having a game night hosted by Tiffany Gold at Theater Lab on the 22nd in the evening as a fundraising kickoff. So lots of ways to catch it. And if you're interested in feeling bad, that is happening late May at Theater Lab as well. So lots of things going on.
Love that. I'm going to be sure to be checking out your show when I arrive at Edinburgh myself.
Please, would love to see you. We can have an Einbrew together. That's what I'm most excited for. I love Einbrew.
My favourite thing about Edinburgh is an Einbrew and a haggis pizza. You had a haggis pizza?
I had a haggis pie. I did not have haggis pizza.
Haggis pizza is the best. Like
Okay.
as soon as I arrive in Edinburgh, I'm getting that haggis pizza.
You and me, Martin. Iron Brew
We're
and
doing
haggis
it.
pizza. Little bit, no refunds post game.
Yeah, love it, love it. Well, thanks again, Katie. And
Thank
also,
you.
if anyone has been watching or listening to this conversation, we appreciate you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.